There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is, Rochelle, what is my name after all?
Kevin McDonald. You say it good though, Kevin.
Uh-huh.
You actually say it so much better.
Which part? My name?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, I've been using it for quite some time now. Although when I was a kid, I wanted to be called Paul.
Really? When I was a kid, I used to love, there was this girl I was jealous of, and I loved her name. It was Jordan, and I became obsessed with that name. And then there was a few others that followed down the line. Tiffany was a big one. I loved the Tiffany's.
Yes,
but
indeed.
today I loved Naomi's because we have an amazing guest.
You beat me. I was going to say that.
I got you. You taught me, so I better be able to keep up now. But welcome, Naomi Morad. We have with us today. Thank you for being here. How are you?
I am very good. Very happy to be here. Thank you, Kevin and Rochelle, for having me.
You have got a wonderful view outside your window with lots of plants and flowers and stuff. Where part of the world are you? Do you mind telling us?
I'm in Marietta, which is just outside of Atlanta.
Oh, very nice. Very pretty over there.
Very
and it looks like it's a sunny day.
It's a sunny day, and that's my favorite part of the city is the views, the forest, everywhere.
Yes,
oh, very cool. And we are excited about having you here because you've got an incredible story that needs to be told because you can help people who have been through similar, although probably different things. You can help them learn how to heal. Would I be appropriate in saying that?
I think that would be very appropriate.
Oh, good. And because it's great that you are taking the time out of your busy schedule in your life to talk to women, predominantly women, isn't it?
It's women and men. That's the misconception, that it's women and men.
But men are tough. Men don't have any problems. We just, well, maybe we do.
I believe that we all have issues, every one of us. Doesn't matter, man, woman, we all have a story. And we all carry pain. And our story affects the lens through which we perceive our life today. It's the obstacles we run into in our everyday lives because of our story. So to me, it's all the same, men, women, children, although I do not work with children, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
No, go ahead.
Do you remember the moment you realized my story is worth it and I'm going to share it?
I don't remember the moment where I thought my story is worth of sharing.
Yeah.
I remember the moment where I chose to live. That was the first step.
Choosing to live is kind of a big step, isn't it?
Kind of. So we've been beating around the bush around my story. My story is really a story that to the outside, the family I was born into looked just like probably every other family. But on the inside, there was absolutely nothing normal in our house. And I had a father who not only raped and abused me, but also trafficked me for the first 20 years of my life. And for the longest time, I did not remember what happened to me. I was completely dissociated from my past. I could not remember a thing. I just walked around with this feeling of overwhelm, tremendous amounts of pain, like emotional pain, also a lot of physical pain, not understanding my life, not being able to make sense of my life, at the same time having like this inner knowing that my life can be good, that my life is worth living. So I was dancing between those two worlds, between drowning in my pain and that knowing there's something in this life, there's something in it here for me, there's something for me here to do. And that was until I was 28, when I found myself driving in my car just the day before I had finally come face to face with the memories of my past, or started remembering. So until that moment, basically being dissociated and not being able to remember is what I needed in order to survive. And then due to the work I had started doing on my depression and starting to heal for over a year already at the time, remembering was the only way for me to move forward with my life and to stay alive. And Kevin, you look like you want to say something.
Who, me? Yes, I did. Naomi, the one thing that I'm learning in my experiences with people who have experienced trauma is a lot of times it is so horrific that they bury the memories deep within them so that they don't have to live in the pain and repeat them every day. But they're still there, and they affect us in a myriad of ways until they're brought forward. But then when that happens, then you have to deal with them. Is that right?
That is absolutely right. And we never remember anything unless we're ready. I've been working with people. I'm a psychosomatic practitioner. I specialize in helping people heal from the inside out, meaning I help people heal the root cause of the pain that they're dealing with today, whether it's relationship issues, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, any kind of PTSD, chronic pain. The list is endless. It doesn't matter how it affects people in their lives today. It's usually related to early childhood trauma. And people never bring up memories or start coping with feelings and emotions, memories that they cannot cope with. So it's like the onions that, onion that you peel and you peel off the layers. It's the same here. We only remember what we're capable of coping with at each given moment in time.
Rochelle?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a beautiful thing that exists, because it's not we've been talking a lot, Naomi, about how your brain is there to protect you. And when you go through some of those things and you're trying to come out of it, your brain will find situations to make you see something completely for what it's not. But also you have to give yourself grace and know, hey, my brain is doing this because of what I've been through, and I'm thankful for that. But we don't need to do that anymore because we're creating a safe space. Do you remember some moments where you were kind of in the middle of that, or do you ever find yourself still there and you're like, no, it's okay. Everything's okay.
It's those moments when we're triggered.
Yeah.
And it's like, I call it button pushing, where someone pushes your button, and it can be a work situation, it can be something someone says to you, or it can be money related, whatever it is, wherever your trauma sits, something will come from the outside, push that button, and your reaction will not be logical. And people will say, why is she having such a big reaction about this? This is no big deal. And it's that ability to recognize in that moment, okay, my reaction is not realistic to the situation, given situation. Like my emotions are out of control, and understanding, okay, there's something in me that was just triggered, and stopping and recognizing, okay, what is it in me that made me explode right now? What is it in me that made me so angry? What is it in me that people react to me in certain ways? It's that mirroring.
A lot of learning.
A lot of learning all the time. All the time.
Yes.
And, Naomi, I'm just curious because, well, a lot of people, they bury the memory so deep. And when they start coming out, how do they recognize that those are actual real life events that affected them and not some sort of fantasy?
That's a very good question. And it's true. When memories come up, often they seem so surreal, or people don't have any recollection of that these things happened, and they say that's impossible. Like, I must be making this up. What I've learned throughout the years, our brain doesn't make up stuff. When memories come up, they're usually real. And most importantly, in those moments, usually it makes sense to the way they feel. Like there's like a direct correlation with the feeling that they were feeling before. So the memories, they maybe cognitively, they say, that couldn't have happened to me, but they sense and feel that something begins to shift. And often when I will check back in with my clients at the end of the session after they process the memory, and I always say it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. What matters is the way you feel right now. And then towards the end of the session, there's always a shift and always a change. And that's really what matters.
Yeah.
Because they begin to understand that the nature of what they went through was real. And that creates an entirely different dynamic, I would think, because if you think it might be a fantasy, or it was a dream that you had and it really wasn't, and you're not sure, but when you then face the reality that, holy jeepers, I don't even know if that's a word anymore, but holy
Yes, it is.
jeepers, did that really happen to me? And then dealing with it is hard, which is why coming to someone like you is so important.
Yeah.
Because, and by the way, we weren't debating this. We were psychosomatic. What do you call it, Michelle?
The psychosomatic practitioner is her title, which is amazing.
And so, for those of us who maybe are not as educated as some, what is a psychosomatic practitioner?
It's a very good question. I'll explain it this way. In regular talk therapy, we talk about the issue and we talk about it from our neocortex, which is our thinking brain there to solve problems. And basically, we use it for speech, for language, for solving things. But it doesn't process emotions, feelings and emotions. So we speak about the problem. We speak about what happened to us. We can only speak about the things that we actually cognitively remember. But as we had spoken before, a lot of things, we don't remember them. They're stored in our bodies. They're stored in our subcortex, in our limbic brain, which stores every feeling, emotion, memory, everything that's ever happened to us. Even the three of us having a conversation right now, something is happening in our bodies. Our bodies are interacting, communicating. And when we go through trauma, our body remembers the trauma, but our brain, our cognitive brain, has probably shut it out or only remembers like bits and pieces of what actually happened. That's why in talk therapy, it's very difficult to make changes. The person understands their story better, and it can be very helpful to talk about it and to understand it more, but we can't really make a change. Whereas in psychosomatic therapy, I work with the body, with the brain, with the subconscious, with the feelings and emotions where they're stored in our brain. I work with techniques that bypass the thinking mind. It means my clients are awake, fully awake. There's no hypnosis or anything involved, but just I use techniques such as inner child healing, where we connect through the emotion to the inner child and the memories that come up with that. I work with parts work, giving different parts in our body, giving the pain in our chest, our back pain, our shoulder pain, the feeling that we have in our stomach. 5-year-old, I give them a voice. And as we give those parts a voice, we bypass again the thinking mind. And I work with Brainspotting, which is similar to EMDR for those who know EMDR. And it's another technique that works through the eyes and helps process memory, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and basically works through all the layers of the emotions and everything that is related to the issue. So that's, in a nutshell, psychosomatic therapy.
That's really great. And we've got Rochelle's got a follow-up question, but before we do that, we need to take a break. And Naomi Morad is here. And if you'd like to go to her website, Rochelle, how do they get there?
Yes, go to Naomi's website at naomimorad.com. I will leave it up to you to figure the rest out. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Fire That Doesn't Die by Positive Talk Radio. Success never shows up overnight. It tests you. It breaks you. It asks, how much do you want it and how badly do you believe? Amazon answered that question for 9 long years with no profits, only vision. At Positive Talk Radio, our fight began in 2003. Self-funded, no spotlight, no guarantees, only faith that hope and love can change lives. For over 2 decades now, we've kept showing up, keep speaking light into the darkness. And now, hey, we're still here, stronger, louder, inspiring hearts across the world. Because true greatness isn't measured by how fast you rise, but by how long you refuse to fall. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Rochelle. She's right over there. And my name is Kevin McDonald. And Naomi Morad is with us. And Naomi, that commercial is kind of just a thing. And it does point out that we've been around doing this a while, and you're one of the first psychosomatic healers or practitioners that has used that term that we've ever met. And so it really, and we need to dive deeply into that. And also, one of the things that I think is misunderstood by a lot of people is PTSD. And I'd also like to talk about that a little bit. But first, Rochelle, have you a thought, a question, an idea?
Yes, I've been holding on to this one very patiently. Naomi, you brought up so many big things, and thank you for being with us and sharing your story. Every story matters, and you are here to prove that, and so are me and Kevin. So I want to follow up with the question in my mind, which was, Kevin had said, you start to remember these things, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe it was a dream, or maybe it was this, you try to make it make sense, but it doesn't. But what you can do is you can feel it, whether you can make sense and understand what exactly even went through your mind. But as you get through these things, I think there's a beautiful process, because I want to know if you experienced it, maybe the way is the best for people. And I'm thankful I got the experience to where I looked back and it helped me love myself. It helped me, how we talk about give yourself grace and give yourself patience and do this and do that. And it's like, oh, whatever, I know, and I'm human, and you get impatient. But it helps to kind of come back to that point to remember, hey, that little self of you went through those things, and that's what's reacting right now. And that needs love. If you finally have the awareness and the attention to that, didn't it make it a little bit easier for you to kind of just like step back and give yourself that love and remind yourself that what you were feeling in the moment you were in when that trigger or whatever happened, even when it still comes up, that it's not that way anymore type of thing? Like, did it help you experience finally loving yourself for who you were, I guess, in total?
The more I healed, the more I was able to love and accept myself.
Yeah.
Able to even show up in a show like this and speak. You asked me, when did I decide to share my message with the world? It wasn't so much when I decided, it was when was I ready? When did I feel safe enough in my body to be seen and to be heard? And every time we go back to these younger parts that are like, I see it like frozen time capsules, like time capsules frozen in time and space, all of those younger parts waiting to be rescued. And what happens when trauma occurs is that, again, we have these frozen time capsules of those moments. And until we don't come and go back and become present to what happened, it's almost like becoming witness to those younger parts and really being there and seeing the pain that those younger parts experienced, being there and witnessing, because these parts are so shut off and they've been like frozen in time and space for so long, often from very, very early childhood years, even back in the uterus. So it takes time to heal those parts. And every time we heal a part of ourselves, it reflects itself immediately in our lives today. That means something that we were struggling with before, suddenly we notice, oh, I didn't have a reaction to this. Or usually I get really upset in these moments and nothing. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah.
And the more that happens and the more we heal, the automatic reaction is that there is more love and acceptance. I don't believe that we can just say, oh, I have to love myself and I have to accept myself, because when we have so much pain that is still frozen in time and space, that is seeking for healing, that needs to be rescued, we can't really move forward. But every time we do that, a part of us moves forward, and another part, and another part, and another part, until we can be more and more present in everything that we do. I don't know if I answered your question. But
that was perfectly explained. Yeah, and there's no right or wrong. I mean, what everybody's experience is different, and I think it's supposed to be that way for sure.
Now, I do have a question that I think is important, because, and I don't know if this happened in your case, but there are other people that have gone through trauma and they've completely buried it and they don't even remember it. And the the perpetrator of that trauma might still be in their life. And then there's a moment in time when they recognize, and the healing begins, and that must be a horrific moment in time when you recognize that the individual that claims to love you abused you. That has to be a really difficult moment to get through. Does that happen?
absolutely. It happens, and it's devastating, and it tears you to pieces in those moments, and it might tear you to pieces for a while. And again, I say what I said before, that we don't remember unless we're capable of coping with the situation. If we have kept it hidden from ourselves for so long, and then something triggers and we begin to remember, and we suddenly understand that person that is close to us is actually the perpetrator. That is the person that was hurting us. That means something must have happened in our lives today that is so painful that it will shake up that memory and it will start to come to surface. Or we will have done, that person will have done enough healing work in order to be able to take the next step and jump into the cold water and recognize what's really happening in front of them. So there's something usually that triggers it or that allows it to come to surface. And yes, it's devastating. It's very hard at first. It can feel really overwhelming. It can take people to their edge, but usually, again, people have the capacity to deal with it if it comes up.
Yeah. And on that note, I wanted to mention too, it could be something so simple as a song. You hear one song
that brings back memories, song, all
a
of our
song, a smell, and yeah, those senses. And I love how you mentioned, Naomi, that there's times to somebody else that something may be just so simple. Well, why are we getting this reaction? But I love how you're putting it in a perspective of like your body is letting you know emotionally something has happened, and you are now capable of being in awareness to this. So you can maybe like hold that in a little more and trust yourself and protect that a little bit more rather than to try to make it make sense or push it out. I know a lot of times it's easier to just be like, we're just going to pretend that didn't happen, you know. But when you finally accept it, I love how you mentioned it in the way of this is something that you were ready for and you're there with yourself. Because a lot of times people aren't really going to know what's going on. And when you do experience those shifts where you don't freak out, it's like you have these internal little celebrations all the time that nobody really knows about too. And I think that's a beautiful process.
And I'll even take it one step further. As we shift and change, life around us begins to shift and change. The people around us stop, you know what I'm talking about. People, you know, will suddenly not bring up those pain points anymore. Whereas before it was in our face all the time, constantly getting hurt. Like for me, it was one of the things was I was always invisible. People would speak to me. I would meet them. I would see them on different occasions. They never had any idea who I was. I was like invisible. And I had to learn and had to start. And at first it was really upsetting for me. Like I was really upset about it. And my husband, everybody always remembered my husband. My husband is tall and he has like a very strong presence, and everybody would remember him and nobody would ever remember me. Even people who saw me like 5 times and they saw him once, they'll remember him from that one time 5 years ago. And I had to ask myself, what is it in me that people never remember me? What is in me that wants to be invisible? And it was only once I started asking the right questions and checking in with myself, what is it in me that brings those reactions? That's when things begin to shift and change. So it's always, we can ask ourselves, whatever situation it is that we say, this always happens to me. You guys know that moment where you say, this always happens to me. I always end up in this situation. There's a reason for that. It's like life mirrors back to us our blind spots, the things that we don't see about ourselves, the things that our patterns that are basically being reflected back to us that we're not aware of. And when we start paying attention, asking the right questions, that's when we start learning about our patterns. That's when they begin to shift and change.
One of the things that I want to talk about with you is, you know, when those memories come back, there's a lot of guilt that goes with it, self-loathing, other things that because they can't believe that this happened to them, and they feel guilty for the part, whatever part that they might have played in it. And we need to take a break, but when we come back, I want to ask you about self-forgiveness. how big of a role does self-forgiveness play in the healing process? Does that make sense?
Yep.
100%.
Oh, well, good. Then we'll be right back in a minute and 10 seconds.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Brachelle. That's her right there. And our guest today is Naomi Morad. She is a psychosomatic coach and healer, and I'm sorry?
Practitioner.
Yes. And I'm still not 100% sure on what that is, but then that's beside the point. But I wanted to mention to you because, self-forgiveness is really important, especially when you recognize that you were not in a position or had nothing that you could do about what it was, but there's always a guilt thing that goes with it. What portion did I play? How did that work? And then as the memories become more clear, is forgiveness of yourself part of the healing process?
The short answer is yes, but I think we have to understand.
I figured there would be a longer answer there.
I think we have to understand the guilt and the shame, because everybody has guilt and shame over things that happened to them, and we think that it was our fault. And if our parents screamed at us, we think that it was our fault, that we were bad. If our parents abused us, it must have been our fault. There must have been a reason for the teacher screaming at us at the back of the room. The thing is that when trauma happens, the only way for us to make sense of what is happening to us is by taking responsibility. By saying to ourselves, that's where our subconscious beliefs, by the way, and vows derive from. In that moment, we say, I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy. It's because of me. Something in me is not lovable, not good enough. And that's why I'm being abused. That's why I'm being screamed at right now. That's why my parents keep telling me that I have to try harder, or, expecting only A's in school, or it doesn't matter what it is. That's why I was beaten. That's why my mother didn't pick me up, because I'm not lovable. It can be so many small things that happen along the way, like that we have to take responsibility for what happens in order to make sense of that, because the other person cannot be wrong. If our parents are wrong, if our teachers are wrong, that means I have no control. And this is the key. That means I'm at a complete loss of control in a situation where I don't have control anyway. So I cannot go to absolute loss of control. And by creating those beliefs that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I gain some kind of control. It means I have something that I'm doing that I'm getting this response?
And for some of us, control's kind of a big thing, isn't it, Purcell?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I surrendered, and every day, Naomi, I wake up and I tell myself that I can only control me and how I handle what goes on throughout the day. And I can make goals, but also I think expectations upon yourself that you set when you feel out of control makes you spiral worse, and it kind of sets you up for like more self-sabotage. Does that make sense? Have you experienced that?
It's exactly the way you say it. As we try to control what's out of our control. To be honest, the only thing that we can control is how we react to what life throws at us. Because life will throw at us stuff all the time, painful situations, things that we'll have to deal with, things that are not expected, because the truth is we don't have control over what happens. We don't have control what happens when we walk out of our room. We don't know. So the only thing that we really can control and learn is how to react to the different things, instead of our buttons being pushed to be able to take a deep breath, to come back to our center. And instead of having an immediate reaction, just assess for a moment, okay, what's happening? What's going on? Okay, what can I do? And maybe there's nothing I can do. And that's okay too.
Well, that's powerful though, because tell me if this makes sense. A lot of times when I noticed that the more I thought I was in control, the more I was out of control. It was like
Absolutely, because control is an illusion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a hard process to step out of because the awareness you think is already there. So, yeah.
And so when you step out of that illusion of control that doesn't really exist anyway, and then you embrace the magical, wondrous universe and the world that we're living in and approach it like, gee, what's going to happen today? I have no earthly idea, but it's going to be fun to find out. Is that a good place to be, or do I need to be on medication?
Curiosity. It's the magic to life. It's the magic solution to everything. I totally agree, Kevin. I often say to my clients, when you feel fear, just notice what happens if you go out into the world instead of fear. See what happens. Just become curious what happens. Just become curious about the way you feel instead of our feelings becoming threatening. And oh my God, I'm nervous now, or I'm scared, or I have pain, or whatever. Just be curious about it. Oh, what's happening to me right now? Okay, I have some pain in my chest. Okay, let me just see. Oh, this and this is coming up for me. Okay. It's like there's a difference of, again, how we react. Do I try to control the pain that is coming up in me? Or am I being curious and just see where that goes?
That takes practice, doesn't it?
It does. It takes practice, and I've been using this language for so long that when I hear my husband or my children say, "Oh, I'm curious how that's going to be," I'm like, yes.
Well, and
I don't say anything. I'm just into myself.
You've added to my vocabulary. So now when somebody that I know is dabbling into the control, I'll just say, so are you curious about what happens next? And I don't know, maybe that'll work. What do you think?
And
it's a practice muscle.
It's a muscle, but it's a muscle. For me, curiosity, observation, and awareness all go together.
Yep.
It's like to observe what's happening instead of get attached to what is happening. If I get attached to my pain or to an outcome and I try to control, then I'm locked in. And then I become a prisoner of that situation. But when I can take a step back and observe and see, okay, I see this is happening. Okay, I see this fear is approaching. I'll be curious about it. It changes the whole dynamic. It just takes out the air, takes out the pain, that need to control.
So I have to ask you, how did you learn about the psychosomatic practicing?
I knew that I wanted to help people heal, but I also knew that traditional therapy it didn't interest me. It didn't speak to me at all. And I think also because I had a lot of physical pain and also a lot of emotional pain. And I was very connected to how that I experienced that in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I did go to traditional therapy at first, and I learned some stuff, but I had somewhere an understanding that it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the pattern. It doesn't change. It keeps us stuck, basically. How I knew that, I don't know exactly, but that was just my sense. And when I found myself severely depressed and I was looking for help, a friend of mine, she recommended someone who was like a psychosomatic practitioner. Okay. He was certified in something it's called the Greenberg method, which I then became certified in. And it's a 3-year program where you intensely learn how to work with the body and basically how to awaken trauma that's stored in the body and how to work with that through body work. And through that work, people started remembering and becoming aware of their patterns, how they walk through life, where it is in the body. And through the body work, you begin to release it and process it. And I thought, that was very interesting. And it was really helpful for me. I learned a lot about my depression. And then I didn't know what I wanted to study. So I said, okay, I'll start with that. And I finished that 3-year program. It was a very intense program. And I said, okay, that's great. I'm now an expert in how to awaken trauma in the body, but I don't have enough tools how to support the person when all that trauma comes up.
Yeah.
So I continued studying, and the truth is I'm studying until today because I love it. And there's so much to learn. And there's always another angle of how we can help people and how to deal and cope. And my goal was really that no matter what a person comes with into my office, what the trauma is, no matter how big it may be, that I have enough tools in order to support them no matter what. And yeah.
So I gotta ask you, when you say that trauma rests on the body, are there particular body parts that certain traumas represent more than other parts of the body for other traumas? Or I'm not exactly sure I get how that works.
Okay. Let me ask you differently. I'm going to ask you back. I'm going to ask both of you.
Uh-oh.
When you see somebody angry, what do you see in their body? Like, how do you know that person is angry before they've even said a word to you?
Their body is tense.
Yep.
Okay. What else?
They have this really weird look on their face of like
eyes.
big eyes and gritted teeth and fist, the balled up fists and all that kind of stuff.
And how does it make you feel in that moment? What happens to you in your body as you see someone really full of rage and angry standing right in front of you in your face?
I get angrier. It's kind of like the big Hulk effect that I have, which is if somebody gets angry at me, my first response is to get angrier back.
And what happens in your body when you get angry or back? Just think about it for a moment. Also you, Rochelle, what happens in your body when you get angry?
Well, the first thing that happens to me is I have this electrical. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, go
like
ahead.
an electric heart race. Yeah.
Electric heart race. Okay. What were you going to
Only
say?
it goes through my brain. And
Okay.
it's like my brain, it's almost like there's something inside of me that's saying, oh no, you don't want to say that, and you don't want to do this, but then I do it anyway, because I override that impulse. But it's almost like a stop thing for me. I don't know if everybody has this or not, but it's like a
I
stop
don't have
thing
that.
to where it's like it's like an electric vibration that goes through my brain that says no, you don't want to do that, but then I override that, and so that's kind of like my fail-safe that doesn't fail-safe, if that makes any sense.
And what happens in the rest of your body as you get angry?
Oh, my face turns red.
Mm-hmm.
I ball up my fists.
Mm-hmm.
I'm preparing for combat in all phases, which is my body is tense, my fist as best they can ball up, and I am ready
You're
for
ready to defend.
confrontation. Yes.
Thank you. And Rochelle, what happens in your body when you're really angry?
Not much goes through my head besides
She cries.
they do not know what's about to happen right now.
Exactly. You say it exactly. Not much goes through your head. It's, you said before, it's like a bolting lightning through your heart. That means it's a very physical reaction. But notice your physical reaction and Kevin's physical reactions are not exactly the same. They're similar, but they're not exactly the same. But there's something happening in your bodies. I'm going to ask you another question. When you're sad or depressed, what do you feel in your body?
Kevin, let's take a break and you think about it so that we don't get in trouble, because I want to go through this completely. I want to be able to go through this thoroughly. So these breaks, they get us at the worst times.
We'll be right back in just 1 minute. You think about it, because I have got no earthly idea. But we'll be right back. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this: be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk. We have Rochelle is here, and she's about to be dissected. And my name is Kevin McDonald, and Naomi Morad is here, and she has got so Rochelle, the floor is yours, because Naomi, I very rarely get depressed. I very rarely have got those types of emotions that go on, but some of us do have that more so than me. So Rochelle, I would love for the two of you to delve deeply into this.
And I want you to, can you just re-ask your question so everybody knows what exactly we're talking about?
Just like when you see somebody angry, we spoke about what we see when we look at them, and then we spoke about how you experience anger in your body. That means we can see the anger in the others, and we can also connect to it in our own bodies and understand that something happens in our bodies, right? When we're angry, there's a real physical reaction.
Yeah.
And I was just giving, when you're sad and depressed, like, what is it that you see in others? How do you know somebody is down? How do you know someone is not in a good place in that moment? Someone is really sad.
Their tone is usually low. Eye contact is off. Not much smiling, or sometimes I've experienced they'll make jokes under their breath. It's like, why would you say that or be thinking that? Sometimes they're more slouched and just very quiet and very hidden energy.
Okay. So there's a definite way how you can see when someone is down, when they're depressed, when they're sad. And if I was to ask you, like, how do you experience that in your body when you feel sad and down?
I want to run and hide and disassociate from everything. I want it all to stop.
And what happens in that moment? Just one thing that you experience in physically.
Sickening. Makes you sick to your stomach. Yeah.
Okay, so you have feeling like you're sick to your stomach.
Yeah.
So
pain
again,
in the chest, like breathing becomes
difficult.
very, difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you almost can't breathe. Like your breath doesn't. It's like clogged up.
Yep.
Yeah, and we have basically no energy, right? We just, if we could, we'd just stay in bed if we could.
Yep.
So what I'm trying to say is, you asked Kevin before, is everything, like every emotion, stored in the same place? Similar, but not necessarily. There are studies that say this emotion happens in your right shoulder. If you have pain in your left shoulder, it's this is your feminine, this is your male side, this is that, this is anger, this is sadness. Yes, you can do that, like have like an overall map, but the truth is it will be very different. It will be a little different for every person, and the meaning will be different for every person. When I will ask you what the feeling would be in your chest, it would be very different than what Rochelle would experience and what she would describe, because we're different people with different experiences and different backgrounds and different beliefs, and we're not the same.
Well, and I want to touch on this, if I may. My dad just texted me. He sent me this long message. Apparently he's listening. Hey, love you. Thanks for paying attention. I'm so glad you're here. But the way that I took his question, he asked me is, like, some people reflect also. They don't necessarily like give themselves their own feeling or reaction. They kind of just reflect and feel what the other person in front of them is going through. That's also a real thing, right?
That is a real thing. Absolutely. We can be very, can have a lot of empathy or be very sensitive to what is happening around us. There are those of us who have like very sensitive energy and that pick up everything around us and feel everything, feel everyone's pain. And then there are those of us who have very thick skin and everything will just bounce right off them.
I'm jealous.
Yes.
Of which part? The thick-skinned ones?
Yes. And that's also, that's a perfect way to describe that. That itself is its own muscle. Because when you're used to absorbing in order to learn your surroundings, what you absorb isn't necessarily always the best. And so maybe that's also not always the most positive, because then it makes you not soak anything in, which also maybe I'm not so jealous of, because I love feeling the trees and knowing that the bug in front of me on my finger has life and those kind of things.
And even those with very thick skin, they can learn to sense and feel.
Exactly.
Maybe they won't become like you or me, because I can very much relate to the way you feel everything. But they can also become softer and more open in their energy. And those of us who feel everything and pick up everything, it can also be very threatening, because if we feel everything that's happening around us, we absorb that, and it can get overwhelming, and then we feel like we need to block it out, but we don't know how to protect ourselves, and we're like in this struggle. And the more we heal and the more we begin to regulate our nervous system and become in tune with our feelings and emotions, the more we learn to find that balance.
Yeah.
And I can still sense and feel if I choose to. And I'll
But I
still
don't have
be
to
more
be-
attentive than yes, but I
Yeah.
don't have to take it on. I don't
Yeah.
have to carry everyone else's stuff.
Yeah.
Naomi, does it help to be able to say, I feel your pain, I sense your pain, but that is yours. It is not mine.
To say that to the other person?
To say that actually to yourself, because I drove a bus for 12 years, and so there were lots and lots of people that were sad and desperate, and I learned that it wasn't mine to take on. It was their own life experience that they at some level had chosen for themselves or their situation. And so while I can sympathize and to help as best I can, it's not my job to take it on. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think, again, it takes me back to observation and awareness, to become aware, like we observe what's happening, we become aware that this is not ours, it's theirs, and we can see it, but we don't have to engage with it.
Yeah. And you also don't have to be heartless either.
No.
Because I saw both sides, Naomi. At one point, depending on the situation or the day or the person I was around, you either got fully absorbed everything I can do to love you and support you and help you and be involved in your life, or you got the other side of me that was like, I don't care. Don't tell me. It doesn't matter. It's not mine to deal with. And it's even more than balance, it's finding harmony in the two, because you can't always balance everything out because then you're trying to have control and make it make sense. But finding harmony within yourself is so damn worth it. It really, really is. And I know we're running out of time. I hate these moments. But we have had so much incredible fun with you here today. And thank you for sharing your story and being vulnerable and open, because there's so many people that experience things they might not ever talk about. So hearing you talk about it might just be that spark they need to recognize that they are somebody like that. And it's okay. There's people who want to love you and help you and support you through it. Always remember that. So I want to give you a minute to share with our audience anything you'd like them to know before we leave. And then any ways to contact you or find information about any of the stuff that you're doing.
Okay. So first of all, my message to the audience, something I would really like to put close to whoever is listening, is that doesn't matter what you went through in life. And it doesn't have to be like my story. Everyone has their own story, and everyone's pain is valid. And there's a reason, and it's okay to get help. And I want everyone to know that it's possible to heal, no matter what you went through in life. It really, really, really is. If life has taught me anything from my own personal experience and from working with people for over 20 years, it really is possible to heal no matter what you went through in life. And it's when you're ready to take that step, and when you want to heal more than stay in this place that you know so well, the pain, the anxiety, the sadness, the same pain, the same story that you've been telling yourself your whole life. When you're had enough and you're ready to step out and ready to heal, everything is possible. It really is.
And that's when they need to give you a call. How do they do that? Or go to your website?
They can go to my website, naomimorad.com. My phone number is there. My email address is there, information. And once somebody contacts me, I always offer a free consultation for, 50 minutes to 30 minutes, as long as needed. And we talk about everything. They can ask me all the questions that they have. I can explain. We can see if we're a good fit and take it from there.
Perfect.
Naomi, I'm so glad that you came to visit us. And there is one other thing that I just have to say publicly. Rochelle, either I am one hell of a teacher or you've just become extraordinary.
Maybe a little bit of both we can take credit for.
Naomi,
I've put in a lot of work and I am learning so much, and I continue to every time I'm triggered or make my mistakes. But we have each other, and I think that's really what comes down to it. Is I don't push away from people when you want to. That's probably the moment when you should go find somebody who really wants to be there and sit with you in that and support you. So thank you, Kevin, for being that for me, and thank you, Naomi, for being that for so many others all around town. And congratulations, you are the most beautiful and inspiring human being.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me here today. I really enjoyed my time here.
I'm so glad. And by the way, Rochelle, ditto. I won't repeat it, but you are so dead on right. And Naomi Morad, go to naomimorad.com and find out all about her. And thank you for being here.
Thanks, Naomi. Thanks, everyone.
For having me.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.